Chapter 61. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After half an hour, as one of the top assassination organizations in Beizhou and even the East region, Luo Shaman, Lin Yi arrived and was questioned. When he learned that there was a big business, he was invited to a luxurious single room. Dan Lao, there should be no problem this time, right? That he asked secretly before the people arrived. Dan Chen replied in his mind, as far as I know, the members of Luo Shaman, from the leader to the members of the organization, are all gamblers who don't care about their lives. So far, there is no order they dare not take. Don't worry, I'm here. After getting the answer, Lin Yi took a deep breath. At this time, the door of the room was opened, and a seemingly kind old man walked in. I am Wu Lian, the sixth elder of Luosha sect. What's your name? What kind of big business do you want to discuss with Luosha sect? That he was smiling, and his deep eyes revealed wisdom. Lin Yi's eyes flickered slightly under the mask, and he chuckled. Junior Shuri, meet the senior. This time, I really have a big business to do with Luosha sect. It depends on whether you dare to accept it. He didn't get straight to the point like before, and there was a hint of doubt in his words. Wu Lian immediately became interested and laughed. There is no business that Luosha sect dare not accept, let alone a big business. You just need to tell us who to kill, and we will never let you down. But since it's a big business, you should know the rules, right? That his kind face was full of confidence, and there was more smile on his face. Don't dare to accept it? What a joke. After getting an accurate answer, Lin Yi was overjoyed, and took out the 9th grade elixir directly, and went straight to the point. Okay, since the senior is so confident, then this big business is for you. This 9th grade Pi Fu Xingdan is the deposit. After the matter is done, I can pay another 7th grade artifact. As for the person I want you to kill, he is in the Supreme Tao sect, and is also the holy son of the Supreme Tao sect, Su Zhe. After finishing the request, he handed over the elixir in his hand. It is not an exaggeration to say that this elixir is the second life of the holder. Even if there is only one drop of blood left, it can survive and recover directly. Not to mention there is a 7th grade artifact. Wu Lian was overjoyed when he heard about the Pi Fu Xingdan, and he was even more excited when he heard about the 7th grade artifact. Okay, isn't it? He was about to take the pill with a big laugh, but when he heard the name of Su Zhe, the son of the Supreme Tao sect, his outstretched hand suddenly froze in mid-air, and he said uncertainly, the son of the Supreme Tao sect, Su Zhe. That when he saw Lin Yi nod. Wu Lian was struck by lightning, his hair stood up, and he asked again with wide eyes, the young master of the Su family of the imperial clan, Su Zhe. Yes, didn't the senior say that Luo Shaman dare not take business without it? Lin Yi nodded again, his eyes under the mask revealing doubts, and suddenly he had a bad premonition. Ha ha ha. Wu Lian suddenly laughed out of control, his body shaking violently. Lin Yi stood up from the chair, his eyes flickering, and he said in doubt, Senior, you. Shut up. Wu Lian's kind expression suddenly changed, looking extremely ferocious, and his deep eyes burst into raging anger. With one palm strike, a terrifying aura far beyond the Saint realm raged wildly. Bang! Lin Yi was unable to react in time, and felt a sharp pain on his face. He was slapped and hit the wall hard. Bang, bang, bang. A series of sounds continued to be heard, and his body crashed into the walls one after another. He even flew out of the Rakshasa gate. Instantly, figures were startled one after another. In the void, Wu Lian's figure appeared, with endless coldness in his eyes. Rakshasa sect won't accept this deal. His face was filled with murderous intent, and he snarled distortedly, You are so brave. Let Rakshasa sect assassinate the young master of the Su family of the imperial clan. Do you want us all to be buried with you? Let us die. Dare to disrespect the imperial clan, who do you think you are? Little bastard, you want to go against the imperial clan? I will kill you first, and then I can ask for credit from the Su family of the imperial clan. As soon as these words came out, the faces of all the members of Rakshasa sect around them changed drastically, and their scalps exploded. What? Assassinate Suze. Assassinate the young master of the Su family of the Imperial clan. There are such crazy guys in the East region. How big of a grudge does he have against Rakshasa sect? How dare he talk about this kind of business? Sixth Elder, kill this boy. He wants to die and wants to take us with him. Suddenly, all the disciples present were horrified. Looking at Lin Yi who had difficulty getting up, their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Where did this man get the courage from? Wu Lian's heart was filled with turbulent waves. Just thinking about it made him tremble and his hair stand on end. Arrogant boy, you will die countless times just for having this idea. His face was distorted, and his words revealed madness. If the Su family, who were an imperial family, knew that Luo Shaman received such a person, they would be in great trouble. As the world turned pale, he suppressed it fiercely with a palm. The space was squeezed and exploded wildly. The whole Luo Shaman shook violently. The strong breath of death came to his face, Lin Yi's eyes were about to burst, and he kept coughing up blood. Puff! Under this pressure, his face under the mask turned pale, and he was terrified. Why is it like this again? These people want to kill me. Wu Lian's reaction has caught him off guard until now. The world is isolated at this moment. Lin Yi was injured again, and his aura instantly weakened. Dan Lao, how long are you going to wait? That he was extremely frightened, and his soul was roaring. If he doesn't leave, he will die without a burial place. The other party is a powerful king, and it is very likely that he has already reached the level of immortality. It is not something he can resist. Wu Lian noticed something was wrong and shouted, "Don't let him go, kill him on the spot." The majesty of the imperial family cannot be challenged. Once the news is released, the entire Luosha gate will suffer. He breathed rapidly and increased the intensity of the suppression again. Instantly, the sky collapsed and the earth split. The whole world was filled with a repressive atmosphere. The people of Luo Shaman present did not dare to be negligent, and immediately formed a siege, frantically displaying all kinds of amazing magical powers. At this moment, the sky is about to fall. Lin Yi vomited blood again, and was scared to death. How could this happen? Suze, why can't Suze be killed? He was dry in the mouth, and under Wu Lian's suppression, his body could not move. The crisis of death was unprecedentedly strong. But just when it was about to be reduced to ashes. Go! A crack appeared in the void beside Lin Yi, and a low rebuke came from his mind. In the joint attack of Wu Lian and others to kill everything. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Lin Yi's eyes revealed a strong fear, his soul trembled and he roared wildly, and he fled into the crack a second before death. The next moment, the place where he was originally located instantly turned into nothingness. Chapter 62. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a long time, the two sides were in a state of panic, escaping from a near-death crisis with no chance of survival. Lin Yi was panting heavily, his whole body was trembling, and his breath was getting weaker and weaker. How could this happen? He couldn't accept such a blow, and roared angrily in the dense forest that he arrived at randomly. As the birds and beasts scattered, he fell to the ground. Both Ghost Villa and Rakshasa Gate almost killed him completely. This escape made him feel depressed and angry. After feeling that he was safe now, Lin Yi's eyes were bloodshot, and the hatred on his face was extremely strong. Is it really impossible to kill Suze? Such a terrible assassination organization, but no one dares to kill him. Is there no one in this eastern region who can kill Suze? He seemed to be talking to himself, and every word was filled with unprecedented anger and resentment, and he was so angry that he vomited blood one after another. After working for so long, no assassination organization dared to assassinate Suze. Even if he could take out the 9th grade elixir that would make the immortal realm powerful people excited, and promised a generous reward, he died twice in the hands of the assassination organization strongmen because of this matter. At this moment. How could this happen? Dan Chen's soul appeared, and it seemed that the situation was a little bad, and there were signs of unstable fluctuations in his breath. Helping Lin Yi escape twice cost him a lot. As for every time the assassination organization heard that the target to be assassinated was Su Zhe, the fearful reaction was unexpected even to him. The two looked at each other and could see the unwillingness in each other's eyes. Go to Tiansha Palace, that they spoke almost at the same time. For this matter. Either don't do it, or let it go. As a well-known assassination organization in Beizhou and even Hunyuan continent, they can only pin their hopes on Tiansha Palace. Otherwise, the losses they suffered twice before, whether it is Lin Yi or Dan Chen, simply cannot be accepted. After a long journey of nearly an hour, Lin Yi put on another mask and finally arrived at the base camp of Tiansha Palace, which is located in the most remote and dangerous area of Beizhou. As the #1 assassination organization in Beizhou, there will always be someone to kill Su Zhe for this business. He looked at the huge palace in front of him, which was full of gloom, filled with boundless evil spirits, and reached the sky, and his heart rose again. Until now, he hoped that someone would take on the task of assassinating Su Zhe. As long as Su Zhe died, the position of the holy son of Taishang Dao sect would definitely fall into his hands. By then, I will be unstoppable and rise completely. Please come in. Someone from Tiansha Palace warmly received Lin Yi. After all, the people who can come to Tiansha Palace and the people they want to assassinate are naturally not ordinary. So, it must be a big deal. After being invited to a hall, the disciple left. Not long after, a middle-aged man with a gloomy look and dressed as a scholar quietly appeared. He held a fan in his hand, and the faint smile on his face gave people an extremely dangerous feeling. When Lin Yi saw this person, his heart was shocked. Are you Zhou Yuan? He was born in Beizhou, so he naturally heard of many top figures. The person in front of him is a well-known and ruthless killer who is enough to rank in the top 5 in the East region. As the name suggests, as long as he takes on the task, the person to be assassinated will definitely not survive. The middle-aged scholar nodded, and a gloomy smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I am very satisfied with a 9th-grade Pei Dusheng pill as a deposit. Just tell me, who do you want to kill? He didn't say anything else, but said confidently, since you know me, you should know that I have never failed in the orders I took over. Seeing Zhou Yuan, who was full of confidence in his every move, Lin Yi took a deep breath and felt that he had finally found the right person. Of course. So, I came to Tiansha Palace. I believe that Tiansha Palace, as the first assassination organization in Beizhou, will not let me down. His eyes kept flashing and he spoke slowly. This time, he had a strong expectation. As long as the other party can kill Su Zhe, it will be a great thing for him. Zhou Yuan sneered and asked again, who to kill? The Su family of the imperial clan, the young master Su Zhe. Lin Yi did not mention the son of the supreme Dao sect this time, but directly reported Su Zhe's name. He believed in the strength of Tiansha Palace. I am so good, these people will definitely be able to take on this assassination mission. But as his words fell, Zhou Yuan's smile suddenly froze, and a look of shock flashed in his eyes. The young master of the imperial Su family, Su Zhe, he was in a state of shock, and looked at Lin Yi, who was wearing a mask, with a confused look on his face and said, Are you sure? Now, he could no longer calm down, and his mouth was dry. This business is too big. Too big. Seeing that Zhou Yuan was no longer as angry as the two before, and had no intention of killing him, Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction. Yes, it's him. As long as I can kill him, my reward can be paid 5 more holy artifacts on top of a 7th-grade artifact. He stretched out 5 fingers and spoke confidently. Although there is no opportunity now, Dan Lao will take him to find opportunities later. At the moment, the other party is obviously moved. This makes him very happy. After hearing this, Zhou Yuan looked around, trying his best to suppress his fear, and said in a deep voice, Little brother, please move. As he spoke, he walked towards the depths of the hall. Seeing this, Lin Yi was overjoyed. Great, it's worthy of being the Tian Sha Hall. He hurriedly followed, thinking that he had finally found the right place this time. All the way deeper, Zhou Yuan didn't say anything. Lin Yi felt strange. Zhou Yuan in front seemed to have a somewhat unstable aura, and his body was shaking from time to time. Senior Zhou Yuan, where are we going? Take you to death. That when they reached an unmanned square in the Tian Sha Hall, Zhou Yu suddenly turned around, and his originally pale face had become even paler, and his expression had become distorted. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi's heart trembled wildly, and his body retreated repeatedly, saying, "What do you mean? You are no longer qualified to live." Zhou Yuan's forehead was exposed with blue veins, his whole body was shaking uncontrollably, and his deep eyes were full of murderous intent. The next moment, he raised his hand and waved. In an instant, the entire square was directly covered by a purple light curtain, isolating everything. On him, there was also a terrifying burst of Vaya that was close to the immortal realm, which instantly suppressed Lin Yi. Until now, Zhou Yu was soaked in cold sweat, and his chest was heaving violently. Killing the people of the imperial family? And you are not going to kill someone else, but the young master of the Su family? Are you kidding me? His extremely cold eyes showed unprecedented anger. Now he has become extremely hideous and creepy, gasping for breath. The target of the assassination that the other party wanted to ask was actually the young master of the imperial clan Su family, which almost frightened him to death. Chapter 63. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was so angry that he was about to die. Lin Yi's face changed drastically, and he was terrified. This. He couldn't control the trembling, and asked in his mind, Dan Lao, what's going on? Why is it so difficult to assassinate Su Zhe? He is the same as the previous person. When he heard the assassination target, he wanted to kill me in return. At this moment, he was really panicked and horrified. Zhou Yuan, who was not far away, was a terrifying strong man in the half-step immortal realm. At the same time, he was the most cruel and terrifying killer in the Tiansha Palace. How could such a strong person not dare to assassinate Su Zhe? In his mind. How could this happen? No one in the entire East region dares to take this assassination mission. Dan Chen's incredible voice sounded, and soon it fell silent. Facing the current result, he couldn't believe it. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and roared at Zhou Yuan. Zhou Yuan is at least a top-level assassin in the pyramid. You can't even assassinate Su Zhe. Is this a question of whether it can be done? Little beast, do you know what the imperial family represents? Do you know what the imperial family Su family represents in the East region? Zhou Yuan almost roared when he heard it. Not to mention him, even the entire Tiansha Palace dare not have such an idea. Every imperial family is a symbol of supremacy. No force can compare with it. Not to mention that he is only a half-step immortal now, but even if he is the supreme, what can he do? Still can't compete with the imperial family. Su Zhe is the young master of the Su family. Can this be killed? Just thinking about it makes me angry. Zhou Yuan's eyes were full of bloodshot. He waved his hand and shouted angrily, "You want to die, but I don't want to die yet." An invisible force went straight to Lin Yi, not giving him a chance to react. Bang! Lin Yi's body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string, and hit the light curtain hard. A deafening sound came out, and the light curtain vibrated, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Under this blow, he could feel his internal organs rolling violently, and the sound of broken ribs came. Suffering from severe pain all over his body, Lin Yi struggled to get up, his eyes red. If you can't take it, don't take it. Why do you treat me like this? He roared like crazy, with strong unwillingness in his eyes. There were 3 families in total. Every time they heard that the target of the assassination was Su Zhe, these people wanted to kill them. There was no intention to give him a chance to live. Su Zhe was clearly not there. But these people were so scared. At this moment. Why why can he have such a good family background? Lin Yi roared at the injustice of fate, and spurted out another mouthful of blood. All along, he seemed to have no way to deal with Su Zhe. But in any aspect, Su Zhe was like a mountain, always pressing him to the point of suffocation. Just knowing the identity of Su Zhe as the young master of the imperial family, even an assassination organization as strong as the Tiansha Palace, facing the 9th grade elixir that even the supreme strongmen coveted, they were able to hold back and dare not take the assassination order. Hearing this, Jiu Yuan suddenly laughed out loud, his face was cold, and his killing intent became stronger, saying, "Why? First, you are going to provoke someone that no one dares to provoke. Second, how can you, an ant like you, kill the young master of the Su family? Don't you look at your own identity? Third, let alone the young master of the imperial clan, even any member of the imperial clan is not someone you can provoke, and of course not the Tiansha Palace. The most important point is, do you know that the imperial clan cannot be offended, and the power of the imperial clan is irreversible?" At the end, he revealed impatience in his eyes, and he was about to make another move to wipe out the ignorant little beast in front of him. This is indeed a big deal, but the extent of it is far beyond his expectations. Even, this deal is so big that whoever touches it will die. It's so unlucky. With another palm, Lin Yi was slapped away again, vomiting blood, and his breath became weaker and weaker. You can't kill me." His mask cracked, and his eyes regained some clarity, revealing fear. The other party really wanted to kill him. Jiu Yuan ignored him and was about to attack again. Suddenly, an even more terrifying pressure descended. Suddenly, Jiu Yuan trembled all over, looking at the void above the hall, his expression became respectful. "Master Palace Master," he restrained his aura, bowed, and retreated to the back, only to see, the void in the square was torn open. A figure covered in black mist walked out, and a terrifying aura of immortality emanated from him. An immortal. The palace master who founded the Tiansha Palace came in person. Lin Yi, who was almost fainting, saw the mysterious palace master of the Tiansha Palace, and his face was ashen. Such an existence was alarmed. His face was distorted under the mask. The influence of Su Zhe and the imperial family Su family far exceeded his expectations. At this moment, his eyes revealed despair, and a sense of powerlessness rose in his heart. Did he overestimate the Tiansha Palace or underestimate the influence of Su Zhe and the Su family? It's better for Lin Yi to think too much. A terrifying pressure enveloped his whole body. The lord of the heavenly evil palace, who was covered in black mist, snorted coldly. A pair of terrifying eyes that captured people's hearts were revealed in the black mist. He asked in a deep voice, "Who ordered you to do this?" "Assassinating the young master of the imperial family, you are so brave." With a cold snort, the void roared. Lin Yi snorted, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his body was shaking uncontrollably. I. He looked at the high and mighty lord of the heavenly evil palace and felt an unprecedented crisis. If he didn't say it, the other party could wipe him out with a glance. He was very sure of this. The other party was a real immortal strongman. Assassinating a young master of the imperial family, I am very curious. Looking at the eastern region or even the entire Hunyuan continent, who has the courage to do this? Another cold snort came from the black mist. There was anger in the words. You must know that if you are not careful, the Tiansha Palace will be doomed. Who is the enemy of the Tiansha Palace who dares to come to the Tiansha Palace to entrust such an assassination mission? This is to make himself and the Tiansha Palace perish. So when he got the news before, he hurried back from afar, and now he feels a little scared. Under this cold snort, Lin Yi was squeezed terribly, cracks appeared on his body surface, and his blood vessels were about to burst. Cough cough. His pale face suddenly turned red, and he coughed violently and spurted blood. The shadow of death became more and more intense. This terrifying pressure made his cultivation unstable, and his soul showed signs of being extinguished. For the first time, he felt so close to death. All of this was caused by wanting to find someone to assassinate Su Zhe. Chapter 64. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The enemy was in a panic, and the enemy was in a panic. Who is it? The master of the Tiansha palace shouted again, his eyes under the black fog filled with endless murderous intent. The overwhelming pressure rushed straight to Lin Yi. The entire Tiansha palace was shaking violently. Lin Yi felt the terrifying evil spirit coming towards him, and instantly enveloped himself. Dan Lao, Dan Lao. He couldn't stop roaring, his body was being rapidly eroded, and he felt a breath that made his soul tremble wildly, gradually invading his body. At this moment, he felt that half of his foot had stepped into the gate of hell. Even his consciousness was gradually dissipating. This is going to soul search. If the other party succeeds, he will definitely die. Even the Lin family will suffer a catastrophe. Swish. A wisp of black air rose from Lin Yi's body, and his blood was devoured. Now his face was bloodless, and his vitality was also fading. The lord of the heavenly evil palace had a flickering look in his eyes, and he shouted to Jiu Yuan beside him, "No matter what, don't let him run away." "Don't worry, Lord." Jiu Yuan also saw that something was wrong with Lin Yi, and his cultivation of the ninth heaven of the King of Honor instantly blossomed. At this moment, under the joint attack of an immortal realm and a King of Honor, Lin Yi's face was full of despair, and his heart was trembling. No. No. He struggled frantically, and an uncontrollable fear grew in his heart. In the next second, he might fall here completely. In order to find an assassination organization to kill Su Zhe, he had to put his life on the line now. Frustration and unwillingness filled his heart. From beginning to end, Lin Yi had never had such a strong desire to survive as he did now. No. I don't want to die, I don't want to die. He felt his consciousness dissipating faster and faster, and the vitality in his body was also fading away crazily. He lost his mind and roared crazily. At this time, it was a mistake after all. In Lin Yi's mind, Dan Chen sighed, just when the endless black fog was about to swallow him up completely. Buzz, a mysterious sound suddenly sounded. In an instant, the surrounding space was amazingly distorted. The violent roar continued to come out, under the gloomy faces of the Lord of Tiansha Palace and Jiu Yuan. Lin Yi's body burst into a brilliant light, and the amazing power of space burst out in an instant. Even if they had completely blocked this space, they still couldn't stop it. They could only watch the masked young man disappear from their sight. The eyes of the master of Tiansha Palace showed terrifying murderous intent, and he roared, "Jiu Yuan, investigate at all costs. I want to see who has the courage to touch the young master of the Su family of the imperial clan, and who wants to harm my Tiansha Palace with this." The angry voice covered the entire Tiansha Palace. Hearing this, figures with amazing auras appeared in the void outside, their eyes full of horror. Someone came to Tiansha Palace to assassinate the young master of the Su family of the imperial clan. Isn't this seeking destruction? Hiss. Everyone's scalp exploded, and a storm was set off in their hearts. This news was undoubtedly the most shocking news they had heard in such a long time. It was also in the midst of the discussion that what happened today must not be mentioned to the outside world. A hoarse and low voice fell into the ears of everyone in Tiansha Palace. At the same time, in a valley near the Lin family. Bang! A crack appeared in the void, and Lin Yi fell out of it and fell heavily to the ground. After rolling several times, he lay on the ground like a dead pig. This time, his injuries were very serious. Just like a lamp in a storm, there is only a wisp of flame left, and it will be extinguished by the wind. Dan Chen's soul appeared, and it was already very dim at this time. I am lucky to be able to escape this time, he spoke weakly, with a strong fear in his eyes. If there was any mistake before, they would have been buried in the Tiansha Palace. Lin Yi's consciousness was blurred, his chest was heaving, and his whole body was like a dried corpse. Why is it that even as powerful as the Tiansha Palace, no one dares to assassinate Su Zhe? Is this the imperial clan? He is just the young master of the imperial clan, but no one dares to attack him. He trembled, unwilling to accept the current result. Now, he felt an endless exhaustion coming over him. His eyelids were heavy and trembling constantly, and he wanted to fall asleep forever. Before Dan Chen could speak. "No, I don't want to die, I can't die." Lin Yi suddenly widened his empty eyes, and roared in his throat with strong unwillingness. He stared at Dan Chen with pleading eyes. Dan Chen, who was only a soul, shook his head and sighed when he saw this. "Take this evil-breaking life-saving pill." A crystal-clear small bottle appeared in his hand, and then a pill filled with rich vitality and emitting misty light floated out. Evil-breaking life-saving pill, that is, another life. The pill was sent into Lin Yi's mouth, and turned into endless vitality and poured into his body. It was visible to the naked eye that his injuries were recovering rapidly, and his shriveled body was also rapidly filling up. The surrounding heaven and earth were roaring violently. Above the sky, there were thunderclouds. It seemed that the thunderbolt was about to come. Seeing this, Dan Chen, who was already extremely weak, sighed again and waved his hand to completely isolate the world. "Boy, I may have to sleep for a while next." He looked at Lin Yi, who was recovering rapidly with his eyes closed, and his soul dimmed. Finally, it turned into a faint light and sank into his brow. As the sky returned to normal, Lin Yi's body was blooming with amazing vitality, and his meridians and bones were being repaired. Who? After a while, he suddenly opened his eyes and kept gasping. Feeling the body that seemed to be reborn, he gritted his teeth, his face was gloomy, and his heart was extremely aggrieved. He called Dan Chen in his mind, but got no response. Lin Yi's face was so gloomy that water was about to drip out, and he trembled and said, "Su Zhe. I didn't expect that the majesty of the imperial family could have such a great deterrent effect on so many assassination organizations. Just by hearing me say that I wanted to assassinate Su Zhe, those guys wanted to kill me in return. It seems that this is God's will. Does God want me to kill Su Zhe with my own hands?" He almost bit his teeth to pieces, and he couldn't calm down after surviving the disaster. Several times, he almost died in those assassination organizations. He wanted to assassinate Su Zhe with someone else's hands, and he couldn't understand why it was so difficult. At this moment, Lin Yi understood that the imperial family should not be offended, and the majesty of the imperial family could not be blasphemed. From the beginning to the end, he and Dan Lao underestimated the imperial family behind Su Zhe. I guess those 3 assassination organizations are investigating in secret. Beizhou can no longer stay, and the Lin family can't go back. He frowned, and the price this time was heavy. Not only did he almost lose his life, but he also wasted an extremely precious pill for breaking bad luck and saving lives, and Dan Lao fell into a deep sleep because of it. There was no other way for him, so he suppressed his anger and set off immediately. Return to Taishangdao sect. Chapter 65. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 days later, Taishangdaozong, outside the martial arts arena, countless disciples were watching. At this time, the stage was divided into 2 areas. One was a competition between female disciples, and the other was a competition between male disciples. That was the inheritance that Taishangdaozong had preserved since its establishment. It was also a written test between the disciples of the God King. The disciples who were watching burst into warm cheers from time to time. On the martial arts arena. Bang! 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 2 figures showed their invincibility, defeating one disciple of the God King after another. A man and a woman, Yifeng and Ling Qianxue, who followed Su Zhe back to the Supreme Dao sect. For each disciple who came on the field, Yifeng was polite at first, and then took action. With the blessing of the Tsang Yen Saint Body, he could even defeat the disciple of the 5th level of the God King. Thank you. After repelling a disciple, he did not continue to attack and chuckled. The disciple of the 5th level of the God King smiled bitterly and shook his head helplessly. The vision of the Holy Sun is really good, Yi Feng, you can indeed follow the Holy Sun, but I am short-sighted. You are flattering. Yi Feng glanced at Su Zhe in the crowd and scratched his head honestly. He was able to enter the Supreme Tao sect in his lifetime, which made him more grateful to Su Zhe in his heart. If it weren't for His Highness, he would probably be a dead man now. Another disciple came on the field to challenge, and the two started again. Under the violent roar, on the other side, Ling Qianxue and other female disciples also fought fiercely. Sword, this time, she was facing a female disciple of the 6th level of the God King. She no longer neglected and summoned the Xianming Yushu sword. In an instant, the sword energy rushed to the sky. The two fought each other, the sword light flashed, and the sword energy made all the disciples present frightened. Under the sword light all over the sky. The Xiantian Dao sword body is indeed well deserved. The challenging female disciple looked at Ling Qianxue, fear appeared in her eyes, and she could only admit defeat helplessly. Seeing this, Ling Qianxue's eyes curved into a crescent, and she smiled lightly, thank you. At this time, facing Yi Feng and Ling Qianxue who had never lost, more and more disciples came on stage to compete with them. But dozens of disciples came on stage one after another, and all ended up losing. No one could last 3 rounds. The demonic performance of Ling Qianxue and Yi Feng also made the scene boil. As expected of the people who can be accepted by the Holy Sun, whether it is Ling Qianxue or Yi Feng, these two people are too scary. Yi Feng just followed the Holy Sun back a few days ago, but now he has shown his invincibility. I'm afraid his future achievements will not be low. Can the achievements of those who can follow the Holy Sun be low? Indeed. I envy you. How great would it be if I were one of them? You. Stop dreaming. Ling Qianxue has the innate sword body, and Yi Feng has the blue flame holy body. What do you have? It's already very uncomfortable, can you please not kill people like this? Before accepting Ling Qianxue and Yi Feng, the Holy Sun didn't know that they had special physiques. His vision is too good. These two will undoubtedly become the Holy Sun's capable men in the future. With the appreciation of the Holy Sun, they will definitely achieve great things in the future. Maybe they can become the guests of the Su family and the imperial family. Facing Ling Qianxue and Yi Feng, who are famous in the Supreme Tao sect, there are bursts of discussions and exclamations around the dojo. One by one, there is a strong envy in the eyes, and countless disciples are convinced by Su Zhe's vision. Ling Qianxue and Yi Feng, who are under his command, each look so evil. Even when facing some old-fashioned disciples of the God King, these two can handle it, making many disciples of the God King not only feel inferior, but also be defeated. In the void above the dojo, the great elder looked at Ling Qianxue and Yi Feng, who performed extremely well, and smiled happily. Congratulations to the Holy Sun for recruiting 2 capable men, ha ha ha. He couldn't help laughing out loud as he said this. Because before this, the Holy Sun said that since Yi Feng and Ling Qianxue were his people, they were also part of the Supreme Tao sect. This made him overjoyed, and his eyes were full of kindness and admiration when he looked at the two of them. Hearing this, Su Zhe glanced at the great elder, and a faint smile appeared on his face. What did Lin Yi do? That he was well aware of the potential of Yi Feng and Ling Qianxue, and now he was curious about what Lin Yi, who was out for training, had done, what happened, because just 3 days ago, he unexpectedly gained a lot of points. The system's prompt was just an indirect suppression of Lin Yi, so he still felt confused. When the martial arts field was boiling, Lin Yi returned to Dao sect, looking absent-minded. I will definitely be defeated by Jiang Suzi and take his life with my own hands. He still remembered what happened a few days ago, and he couldn't help vomiting blood just thinking about it. The previous action was undoubtedly shooting himself in the foot. He even almost died several times. At this time, there were bursts of exclamations and shouts. Lin Yi put away his thoughts, and his eyes showed doubts. What is that? that he followed the movement to the martial arts field and saw Yi Feng and Ling Qianxue, who defeated one disciple of the God King after another on the field and showed their invincibility. Every move of the two showed the power of their special physique. No one can defeat them. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi's eyes fell on Yi Feng, and a huge wave rose in his heart. This person is the guy that Su Zhe rescued from Tianxian sect and brought back. He was breathing rapidly, and his eyes gradually turned red. It was because of this person that his two cousins, including his uncle, died in Su Zhe's hands. But I didn't expect that this person actually has a holy body. Thinking of Su Zhe's disdain for him outside Tianxian sect before. Damn it. Lin Yi was so angry that his body trembled and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. For this person, Su Zhe killed his two cousins and uncle. He even destroyed Tianxian sect. Looking up, Lin Yi saw the great elder, saw Su Zhe, who looked calm and noble, and his fists in his sleeves were clenched and clicked. And this will be the best reason for me to kill you in the future. There was madness in his eyes, and there were signs of distortion in his heart. But the next second, he and Su Zhe's eyes met. In it, Lin Yi saw contempt and disdain, his breathing became unstable, and there were signs of disordered breath. Su Zhe, I will definitely make you regret it. Even though he felt great pressure, he roared in his heart when he retracted his gaze. Through the fear of the three major assassination organizations in Beizhou towards the imperial family and the tragic price he paid, he knew that it was not a wise choice to confront Su Zhe head-on at the moment. For now, he must endure and lie dormant. After he grows up completely, he will return the frustration and humiliation he has suffered 100 times, 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times. Chapter 66. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The battle was won, and the battle was won. In the midst of the lively crowd, Shi Yufei appeared outside the martial arts arena with a very unhappy face, and was attracted by a series of startled breaths. This. Su Zhe has another follower. She listened to the discussions of the disciples around her, and her heart sank to the bottom. The hardships and grievances she suffered from so many days of training outside also broke out at this moment. On the field. Ling Qianxue, 25 consecutive wins. Yi Feng, 20 consecutive wins. An elder announced the results of the two. Shi Yufei trembled when she heard the words, and her face was full of disbelief. What? She stared blankly at Yi Feng and Ling Qianxue on the field, her heartbeat accelerated. During this period, she had gone through too much hardship and struggled to break through to the 5th level of the God King. I thought that I could make Su Zhe reconcile with the progress during this period. But now, the followers around Su Zhe, even though they have just entered the God King, can now win in various consecutive games, and can even beat the old disciples of the 5th and 6th levels of the God King. Her heart was full of frustration. Shi Yufei's eyes gradually turned red, and she gritted her teeth. Originally, these lights belonged to me. She roared in her heart, unable to accept such dazzling Ling Qianxue and Yi Feng. They just followed Su Zhe and were able to attract everyone's attention, and their progress was faster than hers. If Su Zhe could still be like before, Shi Yufei believed that Su Zhe would definitely accompany her on this trip, and she would get all kinds of benefits and opportunities without having to go through danger. Taking advantage of the situation, Ling Qianxue, you bitch. And that Yi Feng, who was only brought back to the Dao by Su Zhe a few days ago, is now able to crush so many Divine King disciples. These two people have taken away the benefits that belong to me. Jealousy rose in her heart, and anger spread across her pretty face. Originally, there was no need to go out for training and suffer danger. As long as Su Zhe was there, she could be carefree. But now, everything has changed. This made her feel not only jealous, but also bitter. She must win back Su Zhe and make him fall at her feet. But the arrival of Master Yufei immediately attracted the attention of many disciples. Oh, isn't this Shi Yufei? It seems that she has gained a lot from this trip. Ha ha ha, she didn't have to go anywhere to enjoy the resources and support of the Holy Sun, but she insisted on committing suicide. Now she has nothing, and the Sure family has to suffer the suppression of the Emperor's order. It's so funny. Look at this woman, she is really cheap. The way she looks at Ling Qianxue seems to want to eat her alive. She deserves it. Ling Qianxue is a follower of the Holy Sun. What qualifications does she have to be jealous? What is her identity? That's right, shameless cheap woman, she only knows how to cherish after losing it. Fortunately, the Holy Sun has awakened, otherwise, he would definitely be ruined by Shi Yufei. That the eyes were full of sarcasm, and it was ridiculous. Shi Yufei felt that every word was like a sharp knife stabbing into her heart. Her face was ugly and her chest was heaving. You all wait for Su Zhe to change his mind. I hope you can still be like this then. That she was so angry that she trembled, her eyes were cold. Suddenly, a roar came. Look over there. Elder Ouyang and the Holy Sun are fighting. A disciple exclaimed. In an instant, all eyes looked at the void. Under the attention of the crowd, as the elder of the sword pavilion, Ouyang Chen stepped back and looked at Su Zhe opposite him with a strong shock in his eyes. I didn't expect the Holy Sun to have made such great progress during this period. There was a storm in his heart, and his hands felt numb as if he was electrocuted. Under the suggestion of the great elder, he wanted to try the progress of the Holy Sun. Even if he didn't use his full strength and suppressed his cultivation to the 9th level of the saint, it was not something that a saint cultivator could easily defeat. But he didn't expect that when they met, that the Holy Sun showed his terrifying physical strength, and he suffered a loss in a head-on collision. Elder Ouyang, you are too kind. Su Zhe chuckled and said, with a hint of fighting spirit in his eyes. Facing the elder of the sword pavilion who was in the 8th level of the King Realm, he wanted to test the gap with the King Realm. The next second. Su Zhe's fighting spirit in his eyes became stronger and stronger, and he rushed down violently, setting off a series of sonic booms. Elder Ouyang, there is no need to suppress me like this, try to fight me in the King Realm. Astonishing blood and energy burst out from his body, and his cultivation was unreserved. The world roared, and the Tao sect was shaken. The strong aura made the disciples around him change their faces and try their best to resist the terrifying fluctuations. At this time, Su Zhe's figure was like a stream of light, rushing straight towards Ouyang Chen. When he approached, Su Zhe suddenly clenched his fist, and the space was exploding. Crack! With one punch, there was a confident light in his eyes, the ancient holy body bloomed. From behind him, the ice soul holy flame also appeared, and the temperature of the world dropped sharply, making people feel like they were in an ice cave. Boom! 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 With the combination of the two, the deafening sound kept echoing, the wind raged, and the world changed color. Feeling the terrifying power coming towards him and the terrifying cold air that would freeze his soul, a long sword appeared in Ouyang Chen's hand. He raised his cultivation to the 1st level of the Supreme King Realm at this time. He thrust out a sword with all his strength in fear. The sword energy was overwhelming, which shocked the Saint Realm disciples present again. The attack that instinctively suppressed the Saint Realm was useless to Su Zhe at this moment. Bang! The sword and the fist suddenly collided. A bright light burst out, making it impossible to look directly at it. The amazing fluctuations swept in all directions, and the cold air swept, freezing everything. The entire sect was violently shaken in this collision. The terrifying fist force caused several surrounding mountains to collapse, and ice crystals formed in a large area, freezing the cultivation of most disciples and making them unable to move. Even the 8th grade formation of the Taoist temple had cracks and signs of collapse. Amidst the waves of horrified exclamations, Ouyang Chen retreated with horror on his face. Is this the Holy Sun? Such a terrifying power, a saint can confront the King Realm. His heartbeat accelerated, the turbulent waves in his heart could no longer be calmed, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. Undoubtedly, after another fight, he still fell into a disadvantage, was suppressed in all aspects, and was inevitably injured. If they were at the same realm. Under the punch of the holy sun that seemed to have gathered the power of the world, and wanted to destroy everything and freeze everything, he would definitely die. Seeing that Su Zhe was about to rush over again, Ouyang Chen put away his sword, waved his hands quickly, and exclaimed, "Holy Sun, I lost." It is a great honor for the Supreme Tao sect to have such a monster like the Holy Sun, and the Holy Sun will surely become the supreme of the human race in the future. He coughed for a while, and his body was shaking uncontrollably, but he showed infinite longing. The birth of the supreme of the human race will surely have great significance. At this time, he also had a deeper understanding of Su Zhe's strength. Ouyang Chen was delighted, but he was still frightened and said, "Even if I use the power of the King Realm, the Holy Sun cannot confront me head-on before he uses his trump card. A monster like the Holy Sun is rare in the entire Chaos Continent." Ha ha ha. After the horrifying shock, the elder's heart was surging, and he laughed out loud. The attack of the Holy Sun earlier made him feel a shock in his heart. He was amazed at the progress of the Holy Sun. If this continues, how difficult will it be for the Holy Sun to become the supreme? Amidst the horrified eyes and fanatical shouts, "I am the Holy Son of Tao sect and the young master of the Imperial clan, how can I be ordinary?" Su Zhe suppressed his aura and spoke lightly. As soon as these words came out, "The Holy Sun is invincible, the Holy Sun is invincible." The scene exploded directly, and countless disciples shouted fanatically. In the crowd, "Su Zhe, he has changed so much." Shi Yufei's expression was moved, and she looked at Su Zhe in the void with a dry mouth. At this moment, she felt regretful, I don't know why. The more she looked and thought, the more uncomfortable she felt. Chapter 67. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was shocked by Su Zhe's terrifying strength, when everyone was deeply shocked by Su Zhe's terrifying strength. "Grand Elder, if there is nothing else, I will first." Su Zhe didn't want to stay any longer and wanted to return to Xingzi Peak, but before he finished speaking, a familiar breath suddenly filled the sky. Before he could react, buzz, in the sky, there was a buzzing sound that made people feel confused for a short time. When they came back to their senses, the Grand Elder and other elders, and even the disciples of the entire sect subconsciously looked up at the sky. Suddenly, the sky changed drastically. The sky curtain of the clear sky suddenly rippled with waves and darkened. Explosions in all directions, spiritual energy shook the sky. The entire eastern region was shaking violently, and countless forces were alarmed. In countless eyes, Shua, a long rainbow rushed straight to the sky. The brilliant light illuminated the world, as if the heaven had sent down a blessing. Looking carefully, in the long rainbow, there was actually a supreme token that exuded a terrifying aura and shocked people's minds. On it, there was a large character written in a flamboyant style. Su. The faces of the elders and others suddenly changed, and their breathing became rapid. Su Family Imperial Order. They exclaimed, their eyes were full of heat, and their bodies shook. And this is not over yet. The aura of the Su Family Imperial Order covered the entire eastern region, and it was still spreading wildly. In an instant, the elders and others and countless disciples of the entire Supreme Tao sect were all in horror, looking at the Su Family Imperial Order kneeling on the ground. In addition, the rest of the forces in the East region did the same, kneeling to welcome the Emperor's order. The Su family's Emperor's order shocked the entire East region, and they all knelt down to express their submission, and countless eyes looked at the sky in horror. The Emperor's order formed an extremely huge and amazing light column. Outside the East region. Boom! 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 The Emperor's orders of the other 8 imperial clans in the South region, the North region, the West region, and the Central Plains all soared into the sky. The endless imperial power caused the entire Hunyuan continent to fall into a sensation. 9 light columns went straight into the sky. At this moment, 9 imperial orders appeared at the same time. The imperial power was mighty and suppressed everything. No matter when and where, countless people saw this unparalleled, majestic and terrifying scene, and couldn't help kneeling down. The world was annihilated. At this time, the sky of the entire Hunyuan continent shook violently, roaring continuously, and blooming with brilliant divine light. Divine light fell, and all living beings worshipped. At this time, the sky was like a mirror. You can see countless forces in various parts of the continent solemnly welcoming the emperor's order. Under countless awe-filled eyes, in the endless vortex of the sky of Hunyuan continent, the 9 imperial orders were filled with wisps of imperial power, suppressing the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The entire sky seemed to have turned into a picture. The 9 imperial orders have been unified, and the war outside the domain has begun. All Hunyuan realm listened to the order. From now on, all human sects, dynasties, forbidden areas and other human forces, all those above the 5th level of the God King and below the Supreme King realm, under the age of 25, will rush to the major war zones outside the domain in various domains to fight against foreign races outside the domain. You will fight for the human race on this trip, face the real extraterritorial creatures, and fight a life-and-death battle of blood and fire, a battle of nirvana, and a battle to defend the dignity of the human race. Use your actions to tell the enemies outside the domain that the human race still exists and the alien race cannot invade. Lines of text appeared on the entire Hunyuan continent. In an instant, countless forces were shaken and boiling, and their eyes were horrified, staring at the text on the sky. Taishan Daozong. The war outside the domain has begun. Su Zhe looked at the brilliant vision and text on the sky, his eyes fixed. Recalling it in his mind, he remembered the relevant plot in the original book. This time, it was a large-scale war call from the 9 imperial clans to the young geniuses in the entire Hunyuan continent. In the original book, almost all the geniuses of all forces went to the outside world to participate in the war. Except for the geniuses of the imperial clan who had guarded the outside world for several generations, the top geniuses of the Hunyuan continent all went to the outside world, facing the powerful extraterritorial creatures, fighting bloody battles, fighting for the human race, and shining brilliantly. As the son of destiny, Lin Yi also gained amazing luck in this war and made a big splash. At the same time, he won the favor of Master Yufei, and the East region's major geniuses are going to the 9th war zone guarded by the Su family. The extraterritorial creatures that everyone has to face will no longer be the previous Abyss Demon Land, those low IQ monsters, but the real IQ, and super strength, with racial divisions, extremely powerful monsters. Especially in these extraterritorial lands, there are also terrifying existences that have reached the Emperor realm. The heavens are invaded by these creatures, and they are facing the end of the heavens. All these, Su Zhe thought about it in his mind, looking at the eyes of the sky, and a hint of expectation emerged. This time the plot will undoubtedly be changed, a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, looking forward to more. Under the boiling of Dao Zong, Lin Yi looked at the monstrous vision that was now presented, breathing rapidly. Extraterritorial war. A life-and-death battle of blood and fire. His mouth was dry, and the light in his eyes became stronger and stronger. This is undoubtedly a great opportunity for his own rise. Not only can he really face extraterritorial creatures, but he can also seek fortune on the battlefield, which is undoubtedly a huge benefit to him. Looking at Su Zhe, who was in deep thought. Dan Lao said that I have great luck. I will definitely take this opportunity to surpass Su Zhe in one fell swoop. Lin Yi's mind was active, and his eyes were full of strong spirit. As long as he reached the battlefield outside the domain, he would definitely be able to show his skills and rise completely. Just thinking of this, he couldn't restrain his excitement, his chest was heaving violently, and he couldn't bear the urgency in his heart to set off immediately. By then, Su Zhe will no longer be high above, and he will no longer be able to suppress himself. All this will be reversed. And not far away, Shi Yufei came back to her senses in shock, and her beautiful eyes were full of strong spirit. Outside the domain Tianjiao battlefield. I have met the requirements to go there. She didn't care about anything else, and she directly ignored the danger of the battlefield outside the domain. What she cares about now is to make Su Zhe return to the way he treated her before. This requirement, sure Yufei just met it, and she was overjoyed. With my current cultivation level, although I am not outstanding, I can show weakness to the enemy in the battlefield outside the domain. In this way, I will definitely be able to arouse Su Zhe's desire to protect me and let him put his heart on me again. I don't believe that Su Zhe has really let me go. He must be waiting. This is the best opportunity, that she was breathing rapidly, and her mind was already full of thoughts. As long as Su Zhe can return to being open-hearted to her, even if she can't get any benefits in the Tianjiao battlefield, it will be enough. The Shi family will rise again. And she can also become stronger under Su Zhe's protection. Chapter 68. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The battle was won, and the battle was won, under the command of the 9 emperors. The entire eastern region has long been boiling, and countless human race forces are leaping between heaven and earth. From the supreme Tao sect thousands of miles away, a phantom of an immortal realm power appeared, standing tall in the world, with a domineering look on his old face. The Taishu Academy respects the order of the Emperor clan, and will lead the disciples of the Academy to the battlefield outside the domain to defend the dignity of the human race in the Hunyuan continent and fight for the human race. He put his hands behind his back, and although he was old, his voice was like a loud bell. One sentence resounded throughout the eastern region. The entire eastern region was completely boiling. From the direction of Shizhou. Ha ha ha. A hearty voice resounded through the sky, and a shadow appeared. It was a middle-aged man, with a majestic look on his face, wearing luxurious clothes. It was another immortal strong man, the human emperor of the Tianwu dynasty. He looked around and laughed. Is the war about to start again? Well, the young generation of Hunyuan continent is going to experience life and death, to experience the cruel battlefield of blood and fire, and know what enemies they will face in the future. The Tianwu dynasty abides by the call of the imperial family. Anyone who meets the requirements in the dynasty will be sent to the battlefield outside the domain to kill the enemy. The territory of the human race cannot be invaded by foreign races. The majesty spread over 100,000 miles. When the voice fell, it was like endless thunder, rolling and exploding in the ears of countless people. At this time, more and more powerful people from various forces, and even powerful people in the God transformation realm, appeared in the sky of the East region. I will obey the Emperor's order and immediately organize my family members to go to the battlefield to fight for the human race. The human race still has successors. The Wang family members will follow me to meet the Emperor's order and enter the battlefield outside the domain. Those alien races wanting to invade are nothing but dreaming. The human race will win this war. William Tiangong obeys the Emperor's order and goes to the battlefield outside the domain. Fight! 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 Their appearance shook the entire eastern region. The overwhelming momentum swept everything, and every word stimulated one young genius after another. From all directions, the fighting spirit was full, rushing straight into the sky to tear the sky apart. Faced with such momentum, all the disciples who met the requirements of the Taishan Dao sect were full of blood, and a strong fighting spirit rose in their eyes. At this moment, boom! A terrifying roar that shook the land of the eastern region again sounded, followed by an overwhelming pressure and a breath that made the space tremble. The great elder and other elders trembled all over, and looked up at the void above Dao sect with rapid breathing. Dao! Dao Master! Their eyes were burning, and their chests rose and fell violently. The disciples of Dao sect were nervous, staring at the void that began to twist. Tear! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a crack was torn in the void. Among them, a tall and majestic figure with divine light all over his body stepped out. Dong dong dong. Every step was like a heartbeat. It fell on everyone's heart, as if it was above the rules. The Dao Master of the Supreme Dao sect, who had only been heard of but never seen before, appeared at this moment. Countless eyes in the entire eastern region suddenly fell on the figure in the void of the supreme Tao sect. The heavenly Tao descended, and seemed to be cheering for its appearance. Under the strange phenomenon, the entire Tao sect was silent, with only rapid breathing and clearly audible heartbeats. Su Zhe looked at the shadow of the Taoist master in the void, and his pupils shrank. The Taoist master of the supreme Taoist sect, Tao Wuya, is a great power at the peak of the spiritual transformation realm. For the first time, he felt great oppression from a person, and a gleam of brilliance appeared in his eyes. A strong man of this level, that even the heaven and earth are under his feet. As long as he takes one more step, he will be the supreme. This made him have a strong expectation to become stronger. When the entire eastern region was focused on the supreme Tao sect, Tao Wuya was shining with divine light, and he said aloud, "The supreme Tao sect should obey the emperor's order and lead the disciples of the Tao sect to go outside the region to fight against the enemies outside the region." Nowadays, wars are becoming more and more frequent. There are countless corpses of our human race on the battlefield outside the region. We only want to stop the enemies outside the region. Others can go, and the disciples of the Tao sect can also go. You will fight for the human race, for the territory of the human race, and for yourself. If you don't win this battle, you will never return. As disciples of the Tao sect and part of the human race, I want an answer from you. At the end, he looked down at the Tao sect below. Although his voice was full of vicissitudes, every word touched countless people, the hearts of Tao sect disciples. It was just a brief silence. If we don't win this battle, we will never return. Fight! 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 If the creatures from outside the domain want to destroy our human territory, they must first step over my body. Fight for the human race. Even if I die, I will become a soul from outside the domain and defend the outside world to the death. The entire Taishang Tao sect was boiling, and the fighting spirit was raging. Waves of roars and shouts turned into huge shocks and spread out. In an instant, the momentum of the entire eastern region was enough to shake the sky. Southern region, the human race was also boiling, and the fighting spirit was overwhelming. One after another, huge phantoms standing in the sky and earth appeared, making a domineering declaration. The strong fighting spirit was not less than that of the eastern region. In the Yaoguang Holy Land, the strongest force in the southern region, countless disciples shouted to the sky under the command of the Holy Lord, their eyes filled with unprecedented fighting spirit. This time, almost all the human geniuses of the entire continent will participate in the extraterritorial war. At this time, the Emperor's son will go to the extraterritorial battlefield this time, and he will surely suppress all the geniuses and become famous outside the region. From beginning to end, the Emperor's son Xian Ping has never been defeated. This time he will definitely remain undefeated and let those creatures outside the region know that the human race is not so easy to mess with. The war has started again, and it is getting more and more frequent. This time it is the Emperor's son's entry into the world. I believe he will be able to enter the realm of the king when he comes back. I wonder how many people will become famous in this war. Among the 9 imperial clans, except for the few who have guarded the extraterritorial for generations, I believe that the rest of the imperial clan geniuses will go there, right? One after another, they looked at a young man with an expressionless face and clear eyes who was slowly approaching the void. But when facing this young man, their eyes were full of respect. One of the 9 great imperial clans, the son of the Xian family, Xian Ping. It is said that he was born after being nurtured in the mother's womb for 10,000 years, and was blessed by the heavenly way. He was born as a god king. Now he is only 15 years old, but he is already at the peak of the saint. Only one step away from the realm of the king. The first person of the younger generation in the southern region. He was even praised by the Yaoguang Saint Lord as another emperor of the Xian family. At this time, Xian Ping did not care about the cheers of many disciples, and looked up at the sky curtain opened by the emperor's order, leading to the vortex outside the domain. Outside the domain, war, it sounds like it's fun. He blinked his clear big eyes, with a harmless look, full of curiosity, even in the next second, in front of everyone, he directly pulled the Yaoguang Saint Lord, eager to go. Every move contains the power of the heavenly way. Seeing this, no one in the entire Holy Land dared to tease him. Everyone knew how terrifying the seemingly harmless boy was. Chapter 69. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The battle was over, and the battle was over, more than territory. In the boiling heat, countless forces are summoning disciples who meet the requirements to enter the passage opened by the Emperor's order and enter the battlefield outside the territory. Saint Feather Divine Dynasty. On the altar that stretches for thousands of miles, in front of the huge, pitch-black warship that reveals a monstrous murderous aura, a girl with a cunning face and beautiful eyes with a phantom of a black phoenix looking at the passage opened by the Emperor's order. The battlefield outside the territory, then I can not only kill creatures outside the territory, but also have the opportunity to see my father. She was wearing a fiery red dress, her long hair was like a waterfall, and her face was full of excitement. It is this girl who makes the young generation of the entire Northern Territory extremely afraid. They have to avoid each other when they meet. It's because she is too warlike, her almost demonic body and the 8th level cultivation of the saint are enough to look down on the heroes. And this girl, is the noble princess of the Holy Feather Divine Dynasty who is loved by everyone, Mu Qing. She has the blood of the ancient phoenix in her body, is born with supreme divine power, and has an extremely strong body. No one in the same realm can defeat her. She is not yet an adult, but she has no rivals in the Holy Feather Divine Dynasty. There is no rival in the entire Northern Territory. Her father is the Lord of the Divine Dynasty, a supreme strong man. 10 years ago, he entered the supreme realm and went to the battlefield outside the domain. Next to him, an old man in the immortal realm had kind eyes and smiled gently as he warned, "Little ancestor, this trip outside the domain is extremely dangerous. I cannot go. You must be careful everywhere and don't trust others easily." "Grandpa Chi, I know. You have told me 100 times. Mu Qing nodded helplessly, and finally pouted her lips, looking very touching, accompanied by a roar that shook the Divine Dynasty. The warship slowly took off. Everyone around and even the entire Divine Dynasty knelt down. "We respectfully send the princess off. The princess should fight for the human race and the Divine Dynasty. We are waiting for the princess to return triumphantly. The Holy Feather Divine Dynasty is not inferior to other forces in the Hunyuan continent. The princess will represent the human race to kill enemies outside the domain. The name of the Holy Feather Divine Dynasty will resound throughout the domain." Countless people watched the warships that covered the sky and the sun rise into the air and head straight for the already open channel outside the domain, and they shouted. Mu Qing waved her hand below, and then looked at the channel outside the domain. "The battlefield outside the domain, this princess is here." She hugged her hands to her chest, and her beautiful eyes showed a strong look. In addition, all forces in the entire northern domain are heading there. Eastern Domain, Elysian Demon Palace, all disciples who meet the requirements of the Emperor's order have been assembled. Everyone is ready to go. Among the many disciples, Su Zhe will surely go to the battlefield outside the domain, right? Dai Ji looked at the sky passage in the central region of the East Domain and said faintly, "In this case, it is really exciting." The beautiful eyes revealed a breathtaking charm, and Su Zhe's face appeared in her mind. Recalling the previous trip to the Abyss Demon Land, she didn't know why she had a strong longing for him. In a trance, Dai Ji's pretty face turned red, and she felt inexplicably nervous. This guy. She was coquettish in her heart, and her eyes expected more. Not far away. The palace master of the Demon Palace noticed that Dai Ji was absent-minded, and her eyes flickered. "Dai Ji, be careful on this trip. The creatures outside the domain you are going to face will no longer be those low-level monsters in the Abyss Demon Land, but more powerful alien races." "Master, I know." Dai Ji came back to her senses and nodded seriously. In addition to entering the extraterritorial battlefield to participate in the war, she is now a 6th-level saint, and she wants to meet Su Zhe again. After all, she suffered a great loss in the demon land before. When the entire Hunyuan continent was busy obeying the emperor's order and countless forces were on the move, in the Supreme Tao sect, one by one, the disciples who met the requirements to enter the extraterritorial battlefield were quickly landing on the cloud boat. No one neglected, and this action was taken more seriously than ever. Amid the boiling sound of the entire Tao sect. On the cloud boat, the great elder looked at the disciples who were going to the extraterritorial battlefield with a solemn expression, and warned, "This time, the crisis you will experience is not a joke. In the extraterritorial battlefield, what awaits you will be endless dangers and cruel extraterritorial creatures fighting. War is cruel. You will experience life and death and face powerful enemies, but you must fight for the human race and never retreat. Before that, let me make it clear to you that if you don't fight, those who escape will not be tolerated, and will be killed. Do you understand?" Every word he said was extremely serious. As soon as these words came out, all the disciples on the Yunzhou took a deep breath and nodded heavily. Understood. They spoke without hesitation. Everyone's eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight, even if they were nervous, their faces were full of determination. Fight for the human race. The battlefield outside the domain, that is what they must experience. When all the disciples boarded the Yunzhou, the great elder glanced around, then looked at Su Zhe deeply, and said solemnly, "This time, Elder Ouyang and Elder Qin will take you there. Let's go. Fight for the human race, fight for the Supreme Tao sect, let those creatures outside the domain see your blood and unyielding will." Just after he got off the cloud boat, a roar resounded through the sky. Under the gaze of the rest of the disciples of the entire Tao sect, the cloud boat that covered the sky and the sun slowly rose into the air, shaking the sky with great momentum, and headed towards the long-opened extraterritorial passage. Seeing that the Supreme Tao sect had already set off, the rest of the forces in the eastern region followed closely behind, with unprecedented momentum and incomparable grandeur. At this moment, boom boom boom, the drums of war sounded, and countless people's hearts were moved. The entire eastern region was watching the human race's genius who was going to the extraterritorial battlefield this time. They will be there, experience the baptism of blood and fire. Experience life and death. Experience growth. And this separation, perhaps there will never be a reunion. On the cloud boat of the Supreme Tao sect, whether it was the two elders leading the team or the disciples, they were both nervous and heavy-hearted, there was no more ease as in the past. Everyone knew that, this battle for the human race might be the last battle for many people. The cloud boat was moving fast and was visibly approaching the passage to the outside world. When entering the passage, boom boom, bursts of roars sounded. Everyone could feel a desolate atmosphere coming towards them. In the dark passage, nothing else could be seen. Among the many disciples, Lin Yi looked at Su Zhe's back and sneered in his heart. "This time, I will prove myself, and you are my stepping stone." He smiled, feeling very happy. However, he knew that this trip outside the domain was full of dangers, and his eyes fell on a beautiful figure not far away. Without much hesitation, Lin Yi walked past the disciples one by one, came to Master Yufei, and smiled softly. "Senior Sister Yufei, this trip is dangerous, why don't you and I go together, so that we can take care of each other?" He extended an invitation to the nobleman mentioned by Dan Lau. Chapter 70. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were very close, but they were still very close, as the eyes were cast. Shi Yufei looked at Lin Yi next to her, and almost without any thought, she refused calmly, "No need." After refusing, her eyes fell on Su Zhe who was not far away. This time, no matter what, she must make this man change his mind. Before this, she would never accept other people's invitations. Especially Lin Yi who had provoked Su Zhe before. After being rejected, Lin Yi looked stunned, followed Shi Yufei's gaze, and his face darkened. "It's Su Zhe again." He was so angry that his teeth itched, and his hatred was even greater. If it weren't for Su Zhe, how could he be despised in the Supreme Tao sect? He has long been highly valued by Tao sect. Under the disdainful gazes, Lin Yi could only grit his teeth and swallow, and return to the previous corner with a gloomy face. In this extraterritorial war, I will prove that I am not inferior to Su Zhe. That he has this confidence, takes a deep breath, and looks forward to it. Regarding the restlessness of the disciples around him, Su Zhe ignored it, meditated and rested, looking at the surroundings filled with boundless chaos. This extraterritorial war, not only the East region, but most of the Tianjiao in the entire Hunyuan continent will enter it. His eyes flickered, and a faint smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. I think this trip will be very interesting. In his mind, the plot of this extraterritorial trip emerged. His predecessor, that is, because he was obsessed with Shi Yufei, would act as a tool man and bodyguard during the trip. He did not perform very well throughout the whole process, but instead caused disappointment to his family and some friends. As for Lin Yi, the son of destiny, he will shine on the battlefield. With the help of the old man's residual soul and great luck, he is like a fish in water, and he is thriving. He even got a ray of the supreme origin in a ruin one step ahead of everyone else. After getting this fortune, Lin Yi's strength suddenly increased, and he fought bravely in the battle of foreign races. He relied on the supreme origin to resolve crises many times, and even killed powerful enemies across borders. With his heroic and outstanding performance, he won the recognition of the leading elders, and even attracted a group of Dao sect disciples. It was also in this war that Lin Yi won over many people's hearts, and also made sure Yufei look at him sideways, and secretly fell in love with him. He even achieved a good ranking in the extraterritorial war, and got the attention of the strong men of the extraterritorial army, which also left a seed for the future. In general, Lin Yi will gain great fortune and many opportunities in this dangerous war, and make a splash. The level of attention he will receive will be unprecedented. As for myself in the original work, it naturally became a sharp contrast, and was criticized by people from all sides, and it was also because of this that I gradually fell into decline. After recalling the plot of the original work, Su Zhe smiled and put away his thoughts indifferently. It's really exciting. He muttered softly, with more smiles on his face, he will break the plot in the original work and rewrite it all. As for Lin Yi, that I will not miss any opportunity to suppress him, plunder his luck, earn villain points, and ruin his reputation. After walking forward in the chaos for nearly an hour. Ready, Elder Ouyang slowly stood up and spoke solemnly. Qin Wanjun stood by, glanced at Su Zhe with her beautiful eyes, and then looked straight at the ray of light in the passage ahead. All the other disciples stood up, feeling uneasy, but also full of curiosity about the battlefield outside the domain. The cloud boat passed through the world channel and completely arrived outside the Hunyuan world. Hiss, as soon as they came out of the passage, everyone on the cloud boat took a breath of cold air. What they saw when they opened their eyes was a boundless and extremely vast huge scene, which was different from what they thought. The cloud boat that originally covered the sky and the sun, now it is like a light boat in the vast ocean. Looking around, outside is a vast starry sky that is endless, filled with gloom and desolation, and many stars and planets can be seen around. From time to time, various limbs will float in the void, and you can also smell the pungent smell of blood. Looking around, at the edge of the endless space, there was an amazing light flashing, and the sky was dyed red, which made people's scalps numb and creepy. In addition, the entire starry sky seemed to be shaking constantly. It seemed that everything was happening in all directions. A terrible fight is going on. Everyone can hear shouts and soul-shaking roars coming from deep ahead. Is this the outer domain? Why do I feel so terrified? Even if I'm not on the battlefield, I can feel the gloom and evil spirit everywhere. A disciple spoke up, and many people breathed rapidly and their bodies couldn't stop shaking. Even if they had been mentally prepared before, they still felt uneasy now. Elder Ouyang looked at the panicked disciples and suppressed his inner shock. Now we have arrived at the rear of the 9th war zone. This place is guarded by the Su family of the imperial clan, that is, the family of the Son of God. Even if there is no war, you will all experience it later. Death is not terrible. What is terrible is that you, as human beings, dare not fight for the human race. Come down. The cloud boat landed on the huge deep space square. After he introduced it, he gave an order. Everyone got off the cloud boat and looked around the square. Just because it was too quiet and creepy, they always kept alert and dared not relax. Su-Zhe looked at the square that was like a small world, and saw huge beams of light, filled with amazing energy fluctuations. These are large teleportation arrays that facilitate support from other war zones. After he retracted his gaze, he looked around again. It can be seen that it is not a dead and lifeless scene outside the domain. At this time, the rear borderland where they are located has almost all plants, birds, and beasts, and there are huge air fortresses in almost all directions, which are even larger than the cloud boat. In the most central position, you can also see a vast city standing, and the flag of the imperial family Su family shows its extraordinariness. Borderlands like this are just one of the directions of the 9th war zone guarded by the Su family. The vastness of the entire defense line, what we see now is just the tip of the iceberg. Since the end of the world has been defined, many other worlds outside the Hunyuan world have been invaded by foreign races. This has led to the battlefield outside the Hunyuan realm being expanded at any time. The smoke of war has spread all over the heavens. The call of the 9 emperors this time was made because of the expansion of the battlefield and the decision to inject fresh blood into the battlefield outside the domain. At the same time, everyone wait a moment, the people of the Holy Sun family will come to pick us up later. The elder chuckled and said, hearing this, Lin Yi saw that the eyes of all the disciples looking at Su-Zhe were full of admiration and envy, and he snorted in his heart. My fellow disciples, in this foreign war, no matter how prominent your background is, in the cruel war, you have to rely on your own strength and flexible mind to adapt to changes. Only relying on yourself is the truth. Even if everyone present has a prominent background, so what? Can you still not participate in the war if you can make military achievements? And can you make the enemy show mercy by bringing out your background in a fight with the enemy? We can only rely on ourselves to fight our way out and establish glorious military achievements. That is the real ability. Having a background does not mean that we can stand firm on the battlefield. Confidence appeared on his face, and his words revealed yin and yang, and he spoke with reason and evidence.